So, welcome back. This is the 75th segment of Making Sense for 7 minutes, where we are Monday through Friday for 25 segments, taking a hard look at evil and suffering. And this is the 5th of those 25 segments. Now, before I start, I want you to know that this lighter, which actually works, it comes from the Albino Skunk Music Festival. Albino Skunk Music Festival. The cigar comes from Ingalls. Albino Skunk Music Festival. If you're not familiar with it, check it out. Now, here's the scoop. In his excellent book, The People of the Lie, M. Scott Peck defines evil as that force residing either inside or outside human beings that kills life or liveliness. Goodness is that which promotes life and liveliness. In the study of theology, there is an arena known as Theodicy. Now, this is the endeavor to reconcile, justify, if you will, the reality of God being an all-loving God and an all-powerful God in the face of what is clearly a world full of evil. Now, as we explored in segment 73, this is a discussion in which the atheist obviously brings nothing to the table because they don't think there's a God to consider, so the question is irrelevant. And if they are wanting to make the case that God could not exist, certainly the God of the Bible could not exist because of evil in the world, once again, what we said was that the fact of moral evil is one of the key clues to the existence of a good God. Because the very categories of evil or wickedness only exist if an absolute moral law exists. And an absolute moral law exists only if God exists. Now, what this is a prime example of how someone brings to the discussion the worldview out of which they think and they act and they live. Now, my worldview is that the Christian faith is true. It's not a matter of being true for me. It's objectively true. The universe really does operate in the manner documented in the Christian scriptures. And given this, I'm convinced that the Christian faith offers the only worldview that enables us to begin to understand evil and provides us with a solid foundation from which to respond. So, working out of that worldview, what I want to do is suggest to you 5 appeals which begin to create a substantial argument in defense for the reality of a good, loving God who is all-loving and all-powerful, even though concurrently evil exists. Now, I want to run through these, and we'll look at each one of them more closely, but I want to give you a quick overview of all five before we start digging a little bit deeper. The first one is the appeal to a God who suffers. Given the fact that God subjected himself to evil and suffering, the question then is raised, what then must he think about it? And what is his response to it? The second is the appeal to origins. Did God create the best of all possible worlds? Do we live in the best of all possible worlds? The third is the appeal to mystery. What makes us think that if there is a reason for God to allow evil to continue, that he would tell us? The fourth is the free will defense. The fact of the matter is that God has made us morally free agents. We get to make decisions, and then there are consequences and impacts on others that come about as a result. And then the fifth is the appeal to God's larger purposes. Could it very well be that what God is about overall transcends your and my comfort? We'll look into those further. Thanks, y'all.